I just wanted to find out, what is everybody drinking today?
Well, I'll go first because I was literally just talking about it. It was my birthday yesterday, and one of my friends got me this half-gallon hydro jug because I literally cramp in every single Metcon. Like, basically, like, I do these long training sessions at this gym that I'm going to, and I feel great for the first, like, hour. But then whenever we start getting into the Metcons, all the cardio stuff, I always end up, like, cramping up. That's probably because normally the only liquids that I've consumed is black cold brew coffee prior to working out. So she got me this to force me to – my goal is to finish one hydro jug, which is half gallon, before I work out. And I put some, like, electrolytes in it and stuff like that. So anyway, that's what I'm drinking today is water with electrolytes.
For the international listeners on Spotify, it is basically a big black jug the size of Ben's head.
Yeah, and I don't know how many milliliters it is, but someone can do the math somewhere.
We kind of know a gallon is big. We kind of know that.
Almost 2,000 milliliters.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 liters?
Almost 2 liters. Almost 2 liters.
That's big. All right, CJ, what are you drinking?
I have coffee, and then I have water. I can only consume caffeine currently while mixing it with water. I can't not. I try no caffeine. Got some stuff going on. I'm trying to limit the caffeine intake, and when I drink caffeine by itself, I get uncomfortable. We'll go with that, and so I have to, like, basically every sip of coffee, like, I require myself to take a sip of water at the same time,
CJ,
so I don't get too.
Here's an idea for
up.
you. If you take a sip of water, then coffee, then you'll get to savor the coffee flavor rather than taking
washing it away
and then washing it away with an inferior liquid. What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting you say inferior liquid because coffee was it 97% water? So I don't know. It's got to be pretty close.
3% matter, man. Anyway, there's some WODprep coaching for you. That's going to be my best coaching advice.
Thanks.
The whole.
Ooh, added value, baby.
Well, if you take Ben's half-gallon hydro jug and combine it with CJ's coffee, I'm drinking a half gallon of coffee.
Yes.
Cool.
No water on the side for me.
Cool. And then, because it is a lot later in the day for me, I actually have a 0% gin in a slimline tonic. And then I also have a funky glass, which has a brain and a heart on it. That's where I actually wanted to put my alcohol line to, but this is actually where it should go to.
What is a 0%
if everybody
gin?
can see that.
Yeah, what is a 0% gin?
Alcohol-free gin, because I like it.
Bro, gin is, hold on.
Without the alcohol,
yeah, of all,
it already tastes terrible. What?
Gin is gross. And you're drinking it with no reason? Oh, you're fired.
That's like
everyone listening to the podcast. It's over. Charlie is no longer a part of our company. She is clearly psychotic and off the rails.
I mean, it's a very middle class white drink, and I'm middle class and white. Like and from the UK, like we love a gin and tonic. Like, yeah,
that's fine. I like a gin and tonic too, but I sure don't drink gin without a reason behind it. It's not for the savoring taste. Like I wouldn't have a 0% bourbon. I love bourbon.
No.
You like gasoline.
Yeah, like what?
Like I've been working my way through like loads of different alcohol frees at the moment. Like I genuinely, if I didn't do CrossFit and I didn't do marketing, I would be a sommelier. But I'm not bothered about the alcohol bit, so it's my little thing of trying to find nice drinks. So yeah, I'll just keep sipping away on that bombshell.
Oh my gosh.
Hey everyone, welcome to the warm-up podcast by WODprep. I've been invited to this podcast by three of my favorite people. Charlie, head of marketing at WODprep. Savannah, head of customer happiness and coach and weightlifting expert and so many other things at WODprep. And then the esteemed Dr. CJ DePalma is also in our presence. He's the head coach of WODprep. And I've been tasked with doing the opening intro for this podcast today because that's probably the only qualifications I have for this particular podcast. We are here to talk about lots of good things that will help you become a better CrossFitter. We're going to talk about some of the online competition workouts for the CrossFit Games or the CrossFit Quarterfinals, 8 group online qualifiers, things like that. We're also going to talk about some other juicy topics today.
That's correct. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, we're going to give our honest opinions of the quarterfinals. And so far, it has been a super exciting season. It's not over. There is still more to come. We're in the midst of it. We still have the age group qualifiers, the teams, and we have the semi-finals coming up. So there was 5 workouts in total, incredibly varied, and it was, again, split over the 3 days with the first 2 workouts had to be in the first 24 hours. The second 2 workouts had to be in the next 24 hours, and then workout number 5 on the third 24-hour window submission. Okay, so it was a slight change from the previous years, but typically you didn't have to attack it any differently. CJ,
Yes.
so diving straight with you.
Perfect.
So we'll start with like day 1, or do you want to go take on all 5 workouts?
Well, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about the 5 workouts, so let's just kind of talk about them as a whole, and then we can kind of go through. So I love Boz's programming. I'm all on board. He has a great influence of like push-pull. You see so much of it. Like there's barbell and gymnastics, and that's the theme so far, right? He could flip it up. But it's definitely a different theme across the board than Dave, and I think it's great. I love new movements. I love people learning new things. I love new challenges. I also really like new movements that aren't gimmicky, i.e. like ring handstand push-ups, you know? So the wall-facing handstand push-up, I think, is a great standard. I think it's very challenging. I'm also biased because I've always made my higher-level athletes do it because I think it's a great pressing training tool. And if you follow any like Dave Durante, Power Monkey stuff, wall-facing handstand push-ups is a driver of their higher skill gymnastics training. And it's also a good test of strength overall. So I think that workout was amazing. I think what impressed me the most is the speed at which people finish some of these workouts. Like workout 1 is 9 front squats, 9 handstand walks. So it's 225 feet of handstand walks, 15 front squats heavy, 15 muscle ups, 21 front squats, and then 21 chest to wall handstand push-ups. The squats were pretty irrelevant in this workout, but to see a lot of people like Mal do the 225 feet of handstand walks in like 70 seconds or something insane like that, I didn't even know that was possible. I mean, it was almost, I think it was sub 2 minutes to walk 225 feet and have to turn around each time. So it's pretty cool to see what people are capable of. And I know when he wrote these workouts, he didn't think anyone was going to be at 5 minutes, and there were quite a few people. Okay. Yeah, I think it was a great workout. I think it was creative. I think it was fun. Good play on our traditional 21-15-9. It was balanced, and it was hard, and it was a good separator. The muscle up volume where it was challenging for the middle end. For the lower end, the handstand walks were, the volume of it was where the challenging should be, and so it was still very layered in its difficulty, right? As far as it kind of got more complex as it went, and yeah, the separators were appropriate, and you knew who did very well, and you knew who didn't do very well, right? And I think it was well designed.
With my athletes, I think on this one, it's going to depend on where that athlete's limiter is, whether it's strength or gymnastics, hopefully not both. But always it's going to be about managing what you can do and working within yourself, right? So you don't want to, on this one, go in too far, too many reps on the front squats if it's going to affect your handstand walks, because you need to be able to be composed to do those higher level gymnastics and not blow up on one or the other thing.
So obviously I did the quarterfinals. And I certainly got my very honest opinions of my experience about it. Again, I'm with CJ. I have been so impressed with the programming. But I've obviously a few things like, let's focus on workout 1. I actually personally think that was more of a semi-finals workout. I think that was too hard. And I know, having spoken to a lot of the community, it really put them off even doing the quarterfinals, because it was just, there was no point in them even starting. Now, from my perspective, I looked at that first workout and I was thinking, okay, ring muscle ups are a weakness of mine. They're my limiter. And I looked at the handstand walks going, they're my thing. They're my jam. I love them. I love doing them all the time. What I completely underestimated was the standard of it had to go unbroken. So I actually got halfway through one of my reps and came down, and I had to start all the way back from the beginning. And I got to like rep 5 and rep 6, and my shoulders were already blowing up, because just going that distance wasn't a problem. Doing the handstand walking wasn't a problem. It was just that volume under fatigue. Am I right saying? I've always, in training, always come down. If I've come down and carried on walking, and the fact that I had to keep going, I just then had nothing left for the ring muscle ups. So then the ring muscle ups were very slow. Never mind even thinking about the chest bar. Not the chest bar, the chest facing handstand press ups. Now I did get to them, but they were then just a struggle because there was literally nothing left, and it kind of ruined the fun because it was so hard. But also I took it from a really humbling experience of, okay, if I can't do this, or I'm struggling to do this, then by this time next year I know I need to be nailing these weaknesses. But then if we look at these sort of the other workouts, if we skip to workout number, I believe 4, we've got the GHDs, the rowing, the GHDs, and the V sit-ups. Again, I thought the V sit-ups, a very simple movement, generally in most people's programming. I know I do them on a regular basis. But after attacking the row and attacking that GHD, I was just doing singles on the V sit-ups again. Just physically couldn't do it, even though. So I was pulling a 152 per 200 per 500 on the row. Working through the GHD is absolutely fine. And I was still just struggling on the V sit-ups. So I was happy with my score, but that was still tough. But I thought all the other 4 felt far more balanced in comparison to workout 1.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that what we notice a lot in Boz's programming, even in the open a little bit as well, is like being able to do a movement is great, but being able to do a movement under fatigue and at a very high volume is completely different. And I think a lot of people who, for your example, in that first workout of the quarters, they're like, oh, I have handstand walks. Yeah, no problem. And then it's like, oh, do you? Do you have handstand walks every time unbroken for 25 feet or whatever, however long it was? I forget. Yeah. Do you have
you got 9 rope climbs?
Right. Or also, do you have it when there's no movements thrown in between? Because I feel like a lot of people, when we practice handstand walks, and this is actually something that I've been practicing at my gym, and I've noticed, is like I'm very good at handstand walks. I would put myself, like I can do them very well. However, when I'm out of breath and I have no other movements to like do in between, we've done a lot of like very long distance handstand walk workouts recently. Kevin kind of nailed it. He thought that was coming up in quarterfinals. I just realized it's like, oh my gosh, when I'm upside down, I don't know how to breathe. And if you're not breathing and all you're doing is kicking upside down, eventually you just get to extreme levels of fatigue that aren't necessary. It has nothing to do with your ability. It's just like your ability basically to do it in a higher volume. And actually, like for me, it's like I don't breathe. If I don't breathe for a couple minutes, yeah, I'm gonna not be very good at CrossFit. And sure enough, like doing long distance handstand walks was like a huge like, oh my gosh, that was a light bulb moment for me that it's like I need to practice. Like I need to practice handstand walks, not just getting through 25 or 50 feet at a time, which is what we usually see in workouts. I need to practice them for a very long distance and learn how to actually breathe through that movement. So I just, I would like to comment and just say, like, I think it's really cool that like we're testing these movements, but we're also testing them under fatigue. Like being able to snatch 185, right, in the open. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I can snatch 185. It's like, oh, can you? Can you snatch 185 for reps under a time crunch when you've already done some handstand work? Right. So it's like, I love these compounding workouts that we talked about kind of in the last podcast. It's like, we're really being tested on our actual ability to do these high level skills. And I love it.
Yeah. You know,
well,
I think CJ, with the way that we've discussed mastering skills, I think that this is just taking those skills at that highest level of needing to be able to do them under not just needing to be able to do the skills and not just needing to be able to do the skills in high volume, but taking it to that next level of always consistently needing to be able to do them at high volume under extreme fatigue, which is just that top tier level of mastery.
I wanted to kind of circle back to Charlie's, we'll call all your friends whininess about the competition of the sport. The money paying sport is too hard, right? Just remember this, right? I had this conversation with, I think, Savannah or someone earlier. This is not fun anymore. Like at this point, money is involved, and this is a career for everyone. Everyone in the top 60 that's going to the semifinal, this is their job. Okay. For the most part. Yeah. And in the top 30 it is actually their job. They are paid athletes. So this test needs to be substantially harder. It needs to be a big jump. And workout 3 of the open was the entryway that this is the no effing around club. And it's going to be a lot harder. So yes, it turns some people off, but I don't think that's not the goal. And I don't think they should care, right? I don't think HQ should care. Do I think workout 3 should have been in the open? Probably not. I think that was like probably too much because that's not the goal of the open. The goal of the open is the community. And so that could be another topic of like, should the open be part of the competitive season to really get all the gyms involved? But I think that this is very appropriate. And I think whoever got punched in the face kind of deserved it. Like this is it. Like this is where it should be, and this is where your training should be. If you think, that you're going to go on to the next stage, and then you finish like 1300th in your region, it's like, well, here you go. This is the plan.
I mean, I'm going to just counter you here.
Sure.
I will. There's 2 points. So the first point, workout 3, obviously my dream. So I am slightly biased there that I just absolutely loved that workout.
Sure.
And it was absolutely right. I do want to go onto your thoughts about the weight of the barbell for that workout in a sec. But first, the statistics, I know about we're talking about the people entering the actually physically doing the quarterfinals. I think there was, obviously, I only know the UK numbers. There was 1,800 per men and per female that qualified to do the quarterfinals, and only 200, on average, 250 men and 250 women actually signed up and paid the $50 to go and do the quarterfinals. That's like I'm looking at the data. That's a huge drop off. So if we're talking about CrossFit as a business and as getting athletes to start competing at a higher level, that just seems too drastic. I completely understand what you're saying, but this is where we've got to start cutting people out. We've got to start looking for the top of the best athletes. But where does that line sit?
Sure.
Does it make it a little bit more appealing so more people enter? Or like I've never even considered whether you take it out, the Open and the quarterfinals out of the season to have more gyms, more communities all involved with this, and then find a different way to find the top athletes. I don't know, but it's definitely exploring.
Yeah, I think on that note, like the business of CrossFit, like we have to, like when we talk about money making here, if they're trying to professionalize CrossFit to where the people who actually make it to the next round, these in-person events, are professional CrossFitters, which they are, as CJ mentions. I don't think the games or CrossFit HQ is particularly, they don't care how many people register for the next round. They want a ton of involvement in the Open, and then people qualify for quarterfinals. And I don't frankly think they care how many people register for quarterfinals, because the amount of money they make there isn't nearly as much.
Negligible.
At that point, they're trying to do what the test has always done, and that's figure out who's going to make it to the CrossFit Games. Right? We need to weed out, separate the cream from whatever else, the crop. I don't know.
The cream of the crop.
There we go.
These guys to the top.
We're separating something from something, but the good people from not so good people, and that is what the test did. I don't think they're not trying to make money on registrants.
Yeah.
So I think it's like they focus mainly on as many people as possible in the Open, and then after that, it's like we expect only the people who think or want to try to make it to the next level to make it to the next level. So I don't think it's a huge business snafu for them, because the Open is kind of like the big, let's get everyone involved, and then everything else after that is like, all right, how can we eliminate as many people as possible as quickly as possible?
And speaking of which then, so what is everybody's opinion of workout 3, particularly the barbell weights? So
now let's mention for all the listeners, what is the workout? Because I don't think everyone follows it.
Okay, so it's 5 rounds, 5 burpee box jump overs with 1 clean and jerk. With each round, there is an extra rep added. So the clean and jerk goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reps. So the women's was 83 kilograms. Let me just do some quick conversions.
185.
Which was 185 pounds. And then the guys was 125 kilograms, which is 275 pounds. So that's 275 pounds for the guys, and then 185 pounds for the girls. So you are doing a lot of clean and jerks in the space of a 10-minute time cap.
Yeah, I mean, again, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the level, the caliber of athlete that could potentially make it to the world championships of our sport. And, we're just trying to weed out people who shouldn't even compete for that, potential. This weight, even though it's heavy for me, but this weight is for every CrossFit Games athlete, easy, right? Like every single CrossFit Games athlete can smoke that weight 100% of the time. Some of them are going to touch and go. I think a ton of people did.
Danny Spiegel smashed it.
And I can speak from the guys' weight. It's like I can do that workout. But yeah, it's gonna because I'm not as fit as the people who should make it to the next level. It's gonna put me in the dirt. But for Games athletes, they're gonna look at this workout and be like, easy, and they're gonna go right through it. So I thought it was great, and the burpee box jump overs are quite negligible or pretty negligible. They might have a little fatigue because people do need to push them really, really hard to, get the best times in the world. But really, this is just like, all right, who's strong and can stay strong as fatigue increases. I think a lot of people probably, like athletes of my caliber, probably they start the work off pretty strong and they can, hit a few reps at 275 and they're feeling great. But then once fatigue starts to set in, because that's so close to our true 1 rep max, that's when things start to fall apart. And we, have to hit those 5 in a row. That's when things probably get really, really gnarly. So I think it's a great workout and it does what it needs to do.
Yeah, and I think for the top athletes, that's no more than 80% or so of their max. You know, Charleh, especially for you, probably a little less than that even. And the games athletes, I mean, as far as the women go, their clean and jerk is so high. I mean, definitely 225 more, that it's a very movable weight for them. But I think it is that separator, because for the everyday athlete, that is potentially significantly more for them, 90% or even close to 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it hits the point. Separator. Can you do the weight? Can you not do the weight? It's appropriate.
Okay, before we start looking at the floor plans for the Masters, because we are on the cusp of the age groups heading off, do you guys have any one-liner top tips for the crossovers? Single unders crossovers made an appearance and caught a lot of people out, but once again proved adaptability is key in CrossFit. And then CJ, I know you're the biggest fan of the chest-facing strict handstand press-up as well. So any tips for athletes on how do you incorporate that into your training?
Yeah, I mean, crossovers, if you knew you were going to go to quarterfinals and you didn't work crossovers, that's a super shame on you. It is so typical for CrossFit. That's a shame. See, look, even more of a reason why I should coach you.
Charleh raised her hand. So now CJ is speaking directly to Charleh.
Yeah, CJ is now reprimanding Charleh. Let it be known.
Yep. For like the 40th time this CrossFit season already. Charleh also did a competition qualifier and a video photo shoot with high gymnastics 48 hours before the workouts were released for quarterfinals. And then she was like, I'm really tired. Anyways, all right. So yeah, crossovers, it's a skill. You have to practice it. That's really it. Just like double unders, right? And so for everyone that's in the individual quarterfinals, now the Masters, it's different, right? Because I think a lot of them just struggle to learn new skills, right? It's the whole old dog, new tricks kind of thing. There's real evidence in science behind, like, the more your age, the harder it is to learn a new skill, especially something with rhythmic patterns, right? Not just like being fit, but being athletic. And so, but for all the individuals, 34 and under, that knew you're going to make quarterfinals, you should have done crossovers without a doubt. Single under, you should have done single unders, you should have done crossovers, and you should have done crossover double unders. I think crossover double unders probably come into the semifinal, and there was a really good idea that they were going to come into the quarterfinals. And then wall facing strict handstand push-ups, I mean, it's just in this early part of the year, right? Just like strict muscle ups and box squatting and tempo work and tempo strength training and things that aren't really season specific or CrossFit specific should be the driver. So you guys should, if your goal is to be better at strict handstand push-ups, you should only face the wall for the whole summer at all, right? And it's only going to benefit you across the board to get better at strict handstand push-ups.
That is what I'm going to do now for the rest of the summer. I will be honest, I've never even heard of them before these quarterfinals. And
they're definitely not as, I wouldn't say that a lot of people should have focused on those. That's a very new movement. It was interesting that they put it in the games, but once it was there, it was like, okay, it should be, it should be there. I didn't know if it would show up, but the crossovers for sure. That was like a softball pitch.
Ben, you've done some awesome videos on the WODprep YouTube channel which you can go and visit.
Never heard of it.
For crossovers.
When it comes to crossovers, I think the kind of the key that I've identified is, especially when we're doing singles, right? When we're doing double under crossovers, you do need to have decent speed on your rope to get it, past twice. But when you're doing singles, you can go with like a licorice style, like heavier rope, like a rope that has some decent rigidity. I think people make a major mistake of using their super high end, sexy, uncoated steel cable speed ropes that are, barely long enough for it to, touch the ground. And they're trying to do that with crossovers. Terrible idea. You need a longer rope because you need that extra space for when you're actually doing that crossover. The rope just needs to be longer because your arms aren't going to be in the same position. and then use a rope that has some rigidity because it's easier to feel. So like there's the licorice ropes, there's the beaded jump ropes, or just a heavier cable of some sort. That's the key, I think, for the crossovers that I've tried. I don't like using my normal speed rope. I think that's a stupid idea, but everyone does it because people like using their expensive stuff.
Yeah.
And then
nope, I use the basic house gym ropes that have just sat on the side of the corner collecting dust for years, and they were the best.
Yeah, and if you err on the side of a little bit longer, it's going to work well. And then I just find it really interesting how Europeans change the word from, wall facing strict handstand push-ups. Why does it turn into press-ups? What happens in the? It doesn't.
They also don't call it a jump rope, by the way.
No,
call it skip.
Yeah, it's like
skip rope.
What happens in the? So
because you skip with the rope, so it's a skipping rope. Like that one at least makes.
You don't skip. You don't skip. Skipping. That's not skipping, by the way. You jump. Skipping is, like hopscotch, like
Let's
moving,
compare videos of skipping and jumping and see which one aligns more with a rope. Anyway, with the press ups that you happen to face the wall with on those, I actually did some of those for the first time this week, like truly, in a workout. And I was really surprised at how easy they were. I thought they were actually easier than normal handstand push-ups, strict handstand push-ups. I thought it was going to be hard, but honestly, the hardest part was getting up to the wall and getting down from it.
Wall walk.
But
I forgot about that. The wall walks were horrendous because you just do all of those handstand walks, then you're trying to do the wall walks.
Yeah.
And, I'm getting just the thought.
But it's one of those things where I think it's a skill that. Like a lot of the CrossFit skills that are added to each year, like every year we have a new skill that comes in, seemingly. If you have the requisite level of well-rounded fitness, a lot of times you can be like, oh, yeah, I can do that, right? Like me having never done wall-facing handstand push-ups, because I have what's needed to be able to do that thing, I was able to do it no problem. But people who only exist in these like very slim margins of the standards of the CrossFit that they do, if they have a new skill introduced, the wheels completely fall off the bus, right? And that's what I think competition does a good job of exposing. It's like if you think you can handstand walk, yet going 25 feet is too long for you, and then you fall down, it's like you can't handstand walk as good as you thought you could. So I love these new movements that don't necessarily require crazy amounts of new skill. It's just like being able to you're actually as fit as you think you are, or you have the fitness level to be able to adapt to these new standards, I think is what's been cool about some of these new things.
So I have a quick question. What would be the reason why a wall-facing handstand push-up would be for somebody significantly different than a traditional, strict, facing away from the wall handstand push-up? Like, where is that? If Ben is saying that, having that prerequisite strength and ability should allow you to adapt fairly easily, but people are finding it to be significantly more difficult for them, where is that gap?
I think it's in the people who are really effective in a tripod and those that aren't, because you're forced to be there. And so those that, if you're a good overhead presser, you're going to be good in both, right? Like exceptional handstand push-up-ers are good at both. Okay. They might find one a little bit easier or harder. The biggest thing that you can't do is those that are very neutral in the press, very like elbows wide. It just doesn't work from that position. So because you have to press, you have to get your head further away. And with the standard, like the people you see that kind of arch a little bit gets them really good. And then those that finish at the top of the movement with that big bow of the back. Charlie.
Let the audience know that CJ was staring directly at Charlie. for the listener.
Yep. And so because of that finished position, it's a different position. So when you see someone do a strict handstand push-up and you see them basically, they finish the handstand push-up and you see them, their hips kind of sag to the wall and their chest is really prominent, right? You can't do that position facing the wall. It's impossible. That's why that's literally exactly what Boz said in the making of the games on YouTube. He was like, this movement in this variation of the movement disallows or doesn't allow people to do their normal, like, he basically said it was like their cheating pattern to the movement, right? They've fudged the standard to fit their ability.
Bend your back to finish the rep, right? You actually have to
press
move
through,
your
right?
entire torso, including your legs,
through the entire pattern. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, so that's probably why.
I just have no idea what you guys are on about. Like, why would you bend your back?
I loved it too. Because you can, like, what I realized is, like, you can kind of just like you point your toes, and then you can kind of just like use your toes to help you like lift on the rep. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I was like, these are fantastic.
You know, it's funny. The position that we're talking about, Charleh struggles to get out of it at the top. I can't even force myself into the position. I'll get to the top of a rep and I'm like, don't do this. And I try and demonstrate a video for my athletes and they're just like it just doesn't happen. It doesn't even exist. Yeah.
So moving super swiftly on, age groups. Okay, the floor plans have been announced. There are 5 workouts, or should I say there are 4 workouts or 4 tests with a test 2A and 2B. CJ, I know you got a lot of athletes about to head in to do these workouts. What are your initial thoughts on them?
I just have one bugaboo. One. And other than that, I was really, they released an equipment list in December. I had a plan for all of my athletes and all of WODprep to bench press a lot because I was anticipating it showed up in semifinals. Trickle down effect. That's what CrossFit does. Okay? Equipment list, no bench. Thus, I want to prioritize another pressing pattern. So what do we do? More vertical pressing, which was great. Awesome. Well, Monday rolls in and there's a bench. And I'm just annoyed because not that it wasn't the known and unknowable. I felt like we were prepared. I was really surprised when there wasn't a bench because in the past year or last year, there was a bench. Like, okay, we got to do the bench. That's great. And there wasn't a bench, so we stopped bench pressing, and now there's a bench. And I'm just annoyed because we didn't bench press. Not that they're not ready, right? And that they're, I'll take some blame. We should still work on all the things. But when you're going to give the answers to the test, you're only going to study the answers, and you're not going to do, just like Monday, the floor plans rolled out, and there's no rope.
Yeah.
What did we do? We changed
I only studied the answers. If they ever gave me that, I wouldn't care about the actual information.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like the PowerPoint, right? Here's the PowerPoint where the test is going to be, or you can read the whole book. Who's going to do that, right? So just like Monday, there's no rope. Okay, great. Do you know what we had in training Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? What's crossover practice? Do you know what we don't have in training now? Crossover practice, so we can focus on other things. And so I'm just a little annoyed that now there's a bench. I love the workout. I think it's going to be a great workout. It's for sure going to be rope climbs, bench press, and either handstand walks or shuttle runs.
CJ,
it's going to be great. Just annoyed. Sorry.
I'm not going to let you get away with saying the word bugaboo without really digging into that. So what is specifically the bugaboo in one sentence? They said there wasn't going to be a bench, and now there's bench press. Okay. All right.
But
Savannah,
didn't the list say, didn't it have
It did. It did.
Like,
it did.
DJ,
no.
Shut up. Savannah, please, we couldn't hear you. Complete what you were going to say.
I was just saying that the list did say that it could include other things. So it said, this is the list, but also maybe anything else. And that was specified.
That's helpful.
It was. Yeah. Agreed. And so I'm fully taking blame for it. I'm just a little annoyed because it was specific that it didn't show it, especially because they showed it last year. That's like, and so you kind of just assume.
Consistency, I think, is what upsets. There's a lot of people in the CrossFit space, right, that are upset with, as a professional organization, there are inconsistencies that seem bad, or they just seem out of place for a professional organization, right?
Right. They seem like easy overviews, right? Like it just shouldn't. Those things shouldn't happen. Now, with that being said, the floor plans. It's who knows, right? You never know what it is. I wrote my thoughts of what I thought the workouts were going to be, and let me pull them up. You guys want to hear them?
I mean, so I think it's Fran because it's the 2 dumbbells and a pull-up bar, and I actually got that inspiration from you, CJ, because you program all of WODprep's free workouts, which everybody can have access to from wodprep.com/WOD.
WOD. WOD.
Exactly.
That's
my thoughts anyway.
I like it. I definitely think it's going to have a Fran feel, but there is a 25-foot line. So I think they're going to move through the 25-foot line. Personally, I think my guess was 21 dumbbell power cleans, 50-foot dumbbell walking lunge, dumbbells at the side, 21 pull-ups, 15 dumbbell thrusters, 50-foot dumbbell front rack, 15 chest bars, 9 devil's press, but they won't call it a devil's press. They'll call it another name so they don't take it from street parking. 50-foot dumbbell
shoulders. That's what they're going to call it.
Satan's dumbbell swinging.
Satan swings.
And then 50-foot dumbbell overhead walking lunge, 9 bar muscle ups. That's what I think it is. But I think it's going to be 21, 15, 9, similar to the front squat, pull up, handstand walk, or muscle up, handstand walk.
And you think that all movements will be progressive, right? You said dumbbell movement at the end, progressing, lunge, progressing in difficulty, and gymnastics on the bar, progressing in difficulty.
I think it fits the theme pretty well. Workout 2 is probably the one that I have no idea. I felt like I had a good thought, and then I realized that there was a 2B. So I think it's going to be a deadlift. But then they tested deadlift last year in the total, so it could definitely be like a max clean and jerk. But they tested clean and jerk in semifinals, so it's so hard to say. Maybe overhead squat.
From the
For
floor?
listeners, on the floor plan, there is a wall listed with 10 inches, 25 centimeters from the wall. There is a barbell. There is 8 feet distance, but that's kind of negligible just to make sure there's space between the work movements, the equipment. There's a GHD and there is a plyo box. So there is 4 pieces of equipment for 2A and 2B.
I think the barbell won't be in the workout at all. And I think it's going to be like GHDs, box jumps, and wall-facing handstand push-ups. Maybe to an elevation for the 55s, but a lower number, right, like 10 or something like that. And then multiple rounds, 3 rounds or 4 rounds, something to that effect.
I'd have to agree because the barbell looks like it can be on the floor, but it can be placed anywhere. Whereas the GHD and the plyo box has to be 8 feet away from the wall.
I'm not good at guessing workouts, so I'm just not even going to.
So then I guess on that one, do you think, I always think that it's going to be a light barbell movement and then the lift is going to be the same movement. However, it is probably unlikely that it's 4 movements in the workout. So I think you guys are probably right that the barbell's not part of the workout. And then the lift, it is tricky to guess what it might be.
I mean, we've seen complexes before. We've seen runs, right? Like, and that's where it's tough. It's like it could be any complex, but what we do know is it'll probably be the barbell gets lifted off of the ground, and stuff needs to be done before it gets back on the ground, right? It could be a hang power clean, low, right? Like there's so many things that you need that I almost find it's so difficult to guess because a couple opens ago we had that like cool complex, which it was like, what was it? It was like a power clean, a squat, a this, a that. I don't even remember. All I remember is it felt really heavy. But I wouldn't eliminate the possibility of it being some sort of complex.
Yeah, so CJ and Savannah, what are your opinions on test 3 and test 4? So CJ, it's your favorite. It's the bench and the rope with a 25-foot distance with a tape line. That's all that's been specified. And test 4, again, it's another barbell with a concept 2 rower. So I'm going to bet test 4, some sort of cardio, and test 3, I'm going to go on the same pattern as the quarterfinals and say that it's how many reps under fatigue, building reps under fatigue can the athlete do for test 3. That would be my prediction.
Plot twist, they use the bench for Romanian split squat. Think about it.
Bulgarian split squats?
Yeah, Romanian, Bulgarian, whatever.
Oh my God, you're fired. You don't know what CrossFit is? Holy shit. All right, so my guess for 3 is an ascending, 1 rope climb, 1 handstand walk, 5 bench press, 2 210, 3 315, and then moving upward. And I think it's going to be long, like 20 minutes. Every time we've seen the bench, it's been pretty long pieces of work, and so I can't see them doing like a huge chunk, like 50 reps or something like that. So I think it's going to be starting small and then building, and then I think 4 is going to be 15.5 open workout. So 21-7, 21-15, 9 thrusters or row thruster row, whatever. Oh. You've seen repeats in the quarterfinals before from the open, and I think this is it because we haven't had this like pain, just full like max threshold pain workout yet. Like none of that was in the open at all, right? It was long, skill limited, even more strength limited, right, by 3. And so I think this one is just like, who has the deepest, darkest secrets in their closet and needs like to really dig out some skeletons and just go deep. That's what
I think you could also have the possibility of burpees over the rower. Or do you think it would be?
Okay.
Do you think there would be another measurement?
The only problem, and I agree with you. I think that's a good. You can't see. It's impossible to see the burpee on the other side of the rower. Like they're gonna be. You're not going to be able to see their chest hit the ground because no matter like where the camera is, right. If they're on the ground on that side of the burpee. Right. Same thing with the bar, right? Where the camera is, you won't be able to see them burpee over the bar. So it's a barbell. I think it's a barbell cycling movement.
And do you think it's possible that it is not handstand walks and that it's shuttle runs?
Yeah, since there's no 5-foot line, someone brought this up to me after I made my guess. Since there's no 5-foot increment markers, I can't imagine they're going to make the masters do 25 feet unbroken, at least the 55 plus, right? And so the whole workout, the same, the floor plans are the same. The floor plans never change between the workouts, between the age groups. So shuttle runs is definitely there. But if it's shuttle runs, it's almost the exact same semifinal workout.
Last year.
And I think it's kind of lame. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. The handstand walks would make that very miserable. Handstand walks and rope climbs and bench.
That's my opinion now. Okay, so we're gonna do a full podcast on this, but just to give everybody a bit of a teaser, once they've done the quarterfinals, what's the next step? What should people be focusing on in the next block of training?
Well, right now, they should be resting for way longer than they want to. Just to make that super clear. Your CNS is fried. You shouldn't be lifting exceptionally heavy. You shouldn't be doing a lot of high-intensity metcons. That's number one. You don't finish the season and go right into hammering your biggest weaknesses, i.e. muscle ups, wall facing, strict handstand push-ups, heavy lifting, etc. You have to give yourself time to recover. Okay, then this is time to build your foundation. So this is where we build hypertrophy work. Okay, so we build size, we build our aerobic base. This is where a lot of zone 2 training should be done throughout this time of the year. And this is probably the time of the year where you should do things that you probably won't do into the season, which is what we're doing here at WODprep, selfless plug. We're doing a lot of sprint work, okay? And we're doing a lot of rotational stuff because we don't do it, right? And so we're going to take 6 to 8 weeks from the open for most of us and from the individual quarterfinals and now masters quarterfinals, and focus on those are the basis of our training. And we're not going into a big strength cycle just yet. We're going to give that just about a month and then sort of roll into it to build a little bit better of a foundation. And then for our masters, we're really honing in on jump work. A lot of them don't jump very well. They don't double under well. They don't box jump well. And so this is going to just give the conditioning that the calves need and create some athleticism. And so there's two stones, right? One, or 2 birds, 1 stone with sprint work and jump work is it creates ballistic training, plyometrics, speed, explosiveness, which is something that a lot of us don't have. That's where we're missing. Most people have decent just general strength, but it doesn't relate like from a squat or a deadlift, but it doesn't relate into their Olympic lifting, and it's because of the explosiveness. And so sprinting and that jump work is a good foundational way to kind of train that without going right back to the barbell.
Savannah
Ben, what are you doing? Ben, what are you doing in your off season?
I'm playing a lot
Ben,
of
it was your
pickleball.
fifth.
I think it really helps me with my ballistic training, as CJ was mentioning. Helps teach me how to be explosive, work on my hand-eye coordination. That's what I'm doing in the off season.
Perfect. Well, I think we pretty much covered everything today. Thanks everybody for listening to us give our honest opinion of the quarterfinals, the recap, and our thoughts about how the age groups should be attacking the workouts. Comment below if you had any thoughts, you agree with us, disagree with us, let us know. But until next episode, we will see you guys later.